I don't know how they're going to approach this. I think Kyle Smith is extremely sharp. I don't know about you guys. I am really loving Kyle Smith as a guy being in control of this roster. He, to me, gets it. You can tell he's a guy that's been around football his entire life. He's a junkie. His dad was a GM, and he seemed to have gotten this thing down pat. He's a smart guy. He's sharp. He gets it. And I feel really confident and comfortable with him pulling the strings when it comes to this roster and him running things by Ron Rivera. So this is a really good setup that we've got. One of the better ones we've had here in Washington. You should be excited. As a fan, I'm going to be honest with you. As a fan, I haven't been this excited about the entire organization as a whole in a long time. It's been a very, very long time. I wasn't this excited about the organization as a whole back in 05 when Joe Gibbs came back. Back in 04, I should say, when Joe Gibbs came back. I wasn't even this excited about the organization as a whole because Vinny Serrato was still around. They were still doing stupid things like spending money very frivolously. They had no idea how to use free agency. It was a mess still in Washington. The only guy that you felt good about that made you feel like we had a shot was Joe Gibbs. It's totally different now. This thing from top to bottom, minus Dan Snyder at the very, very top, which is a problem in itself. But this thing, after you cut off Snyder from the top and you go from, Jason Wright to Ron Rivera, who are pretty much at the top of the food chain after Snyder, once you get to those two and you bring your way down, you work your way down and you feel really confident at each level that you're looking at. And that's why I feel like this thing is heading in the right direction. Now we just got to hope and pray that, Rivera gets healthy and everything goes well with his situation with the cancer. And then we just got to hope that he gets enough time and hope that these players that they've picked and these guys that they've signed and all of these guys that they've brought on this roster and that they picked the right 53. And I think they're going to make some really good decisions. They're going to have some tough decisions on the back end of the roster. We'll talk about that tonight. But at the end of the day, you just hope that they get the right guys. They keep the right guys in free agency when contracts are up. They figure this thing out. And Rivera is allowed to do what he was brought here to do, which is turn this organization around. I just feel really good about it. I don't know about you, but I just felt the need to say that to start the show off because of all of the things that I've been hearing. I watched Kyle Smith talk. He had an interview with Julie Donaldson about 3 or 4 days ago. And I just love this guy. Kyle Smith gets it. He's just sharp as a tack, and he gets it, man. And when you listen to him talk ball, I just feel like we got the right guy, and he's young, and so he understands all of the things that are going on right now. He's young enough that he's not out of the loop, but he's old enough and he's been around the game long enough that he understands the lingo and how to work and interact with some of the veterans around the league. So you're not going to fleece this guy in a deal. Like I felt like we got good value in that trade with Las Vegas for David Sharp, to just switch to flip-flop and essentially give them your sixth, get a seventh in return, and a player that you potentially could like that could be here long-term. You feel good about that. They felt a way about David Sharp, which is why they decided to move on from him. They had enough of David Sharp, and that's fine. We've said this before. One guy may not fit in a particular scheme, or he may not fit with the coaching staff. He may come somewhere else, and he may flourish. That could be him here. And so they could eventually have unearthed a gem in David Sharp. And I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think he's going to be a solid backup. But you need solid backups on your football team. And to be able to get one for a 6th-round pick, just think about it that way. You're spending essentially a 6th-round pick on a guy. Generally, 6th-round picks don't help you from a roster standpoint. You're seeing it more and more now than you used to in the past. But 6th-round picks are a crapshoot. You're rolling the dice and you're hoping it comes up nice, but there's no guarantees in the 6th round. This is a guy that is a veteran in the league, and you feel good about them having some kind of working knowledge of him. Rivera talked about reports that were written about him, and in the film kind of matching up. We'll talk about that a little bit later on when we get to Rivera's coach speak a little bit later on in the show. But I just really like the deal that they got for David Sharp. And I just really like Kyle Smith. Listening to him the entire offseason, when the Trent situation was going on, when we were talking about the draft, when you could see him getting a little bit more power over the draft now that Bruce and company weren't here any longer and there was no one really holding him back. You could hear this guy really taking control of the draft and all of the things that Rivera had given him the power to do. And you could just see a guy that was really starting to really get comfortable in his skin as a guy that could potentially be a GM in this league, and I think he's going to eventually be that for this football team. I'm really excited. I can't say, I can't talk for you guys and speak for you out there. I just know I'm really excited.